Hey everyone, welcome to my weekly Q&A podcast. Today is October 22nd of 2025. This is episode 271, and for YouTube it'll be number 16. So I had a clinic this past weekend, so welcome to those new members. Anybody who attends a clinic gets to get a free month in my group. That's a value of $20. It's a follow-up, so you can send me one video a week so we can critique your videos and keep up with your progress after the clinic. So welcome to those new members. A couple of them are already in the group, but there's at least 4 new people. So welcome to you. A couple things I want to share with you guys before we get started. You know, I always like to start with a little story, and I truly believe in the power of positive thinking. I believe in the power of positivity. I believe in the power of prayer. And I feel like if you do those two things, it really flows into a success flow that the top athletes, no matter the discipline, have. And that success flow is a huge part of your journey. And I know for some of you, you may be new to barrel racing. Maybe you've been successful in other industries or disciplines like jumping or eventing or something like that, or, reining, whichever. But then you come into barrel racing and you cannot make a run at home that feels like the same thing, or even an exhibition that feels like the same thing as a run, because the horse knows the difference, and you don't want to waste runs on your horses either. So a lot of times, if you think of it as giving yourself time, enjoying the journey, keeping it safe, or keeping it fun and safe, but that all will lead to having that success flow if you keep these things in mind. Using my journal in the very back is a lot you can write down about your pre-run routine and getting in the habit of doing things in order. And then also our challenge for the month, we've always doing like power of positivity or calm and centered focus in all adversity, things like that. Those will all help you get into your calm flow as well. So a lot of it can be no whining, no excuses, no negativity, and even hanging around with positive people that also encourage you help a lot too. I truly believe that you need to have a plan. Emotional control is really important. You have to be disciplined. All of this is part of having a successful flow in competition. Being disciplined as far as like how often you ride, getting there on time to warm up, structure, how you tune your horse, all of these things, how you care for your horse. You really want to focus on what's in your control and not what's not. A lot of you are more successful when you think of a real run or a pressured run as a practice run or an exhibition, or just I'm at home or my trainer's house, and just think smooth as fast. That will often be better for you. The idea of visualizing can help a lot. So all of these things, visualizing a smooth run, power of positive thinking, positive thoughts, positive words, positive imaging, all of those things will help you get into that success flow. And I just wanted you to keep in that mind, because every clinic I have, and that's what made me think of it, I can ask who gets nervous before their run, and every person will raise their hand 9 times out of 10. But I want you to take that word nervous and change it to excited. So my second question should be, who gets excited before a run? So turn it into a positive instead of a negative. And excited because you want to do well. And that's normal. The horse gets excited too, because they go from walking, which is calm, to full out running, which is, a raised heartbeat. And a lot of the barrel horses love the run. So all of those things matter, knowing that you can be calm in the moments before and then be in the moment and ride to your spots during that run. And it does get easier. The more timed runs you make, the easier your brain will slow down and be able to think in a fast run. It's kind of like education with speed for your horse and for yourself. When you do things slow, they happen slow. When you do things fast, the cadence, the rhythm speeds up. And eventually your muscle memory of your rider cues and your horse's body position and such will become more natural with speed, as will your mental game. So I just wanted to share that with you guys because that was on my mind. And I really think it's 50% of the competition battle is having a strong mental game. So keep that in mind. And write that down in your journal. Write what's working for you, what hasn't worked for you. Keep that in your mind, and write down what helped you have a better run. Mental game is a big part of it. Be sure to write that in your journal. For the personal best and training challenge, so far for October, we have about a week left to the month, a little over a week, maybe a week and a half. And we have, I think, 15 personal bests already, some of you with multiple. And also about 11 people have done the training challenge, which is the dry work month. And we're doing the 3-circle drill. You can do it at a walk, a sit jog, or a lope, and left and right. And it's lateral bend, counter arcing, and vertical, breaking in the pole. And I've already put several videos in the group. Matter of fact, today I put one in there loping. Chrissy did a great job with nonchalant loping. Most of them have been at a walk trot. And of course, you can find all of these videos at the members only website page as well. Let's see here. So I do feel like, keeping with that story, our topic today, I really feel like growth is how we get better. Our topic today is going to be the top 10 things I feel like youth and parents need to work together to be a successful team out there competing. So I'm going to discuss what I think my top 10 things for youth and parents competing is. And then I do feel like growth is hard for people. Sometimes when you have growth, you get out of your comfort zone. But that's how we improve. And I feel like horses are our greatest teacher. Some people only want to ride a push horse. You know, some people are only comfortable on a free runner. Everybody has their kind of horse they like, you know, big, small, fast, slow, whatever. Everybody has what they prefer: 4-wheel drive, rollbacky, front endy. Most people want one that's more put and go and consistent. I mean, that's the easiest and most enjoyable. Some horses are definitely more of a challenge. As a trainer, I had to adjust to many horses, but as an owner, you may decide you only like a certain style and want to stick with that. A lot of the top barrel racers can ride multiple horses successful, but then there's others who, like, for instance, Chrissy Peterson and Bozo told me once that Chrissy Peterson wouldn't go above a lope on any other horse because it would affect her timing with Bozo, and Bozo wouldn't too much money for her on the weekends. It wasn't worth it to have her timing messed up. So once you get a flow with your good horse, or maybe you've got 1 or 2 good horses, it's kind of important that you keep that flow going with them. And for some people, you know, they can jump jockey several horses and do really well. And others, you know, it's better if they just stay with one style horse or one horse. So keep that in mind, especially if you're learning and you're trying to win on 3 different styles or 3 different horses. They can be challenging, so be kind to yourself and realize it is growth, and it will make you a better horseman in time and a better jockey, but it just takes time. Okay. So let's see here. I'm going to get into the questions now, and then I'll go ahead and go into the topic. So let's see. I've only been about 10 minutes so far. Right. Okay. So someone had asked if my barrel racing log has a way to track your year-end earnings, and yes, it actually does. So if you are looking in the regular pages, it says on the regular pages it'll have your mileage, you know, how much you won, how much your entry fees were for each barrel race. And then if you go to the very end of it, it's before you get into all the mental stuff that you're supposed to write down, your pre-game routine and stuff. It's page 42. It'll show for the year the horse's name, total runs made, total entry fees, and total money won. And I started doing this because, of course, it was a business for me, and I had to track it. So if you have these logs and you're, you know, using 1 or 2 books, I mean, 1 book every 1 year or 2 years, you can just keep track of each horse's winnings that way, and then maybe have somewhere you total it all up for yourself. Because I can tell you, Equistat's not going to be current if you're going to, you know, smaller things like jackpots or open rodeos and stuff like that. And matter of fact, not even all super shows turn it in correctly or accurately. So it's something that you would want to track for yourself. So you can definitely do that in the book to answer that question. And then the next question was, what is the difference between taking off your trainer's cap and putting on your competitor's hat. What does that mean when I hear people say that? It's a really good question. I think of it as kind of think about it like if you have an open horse that you've been running 3 or 4 years and you guys are just such a team, you don't even really have to think. You just, when you get to the barrel race, you're in it to win it. You're in there to do your personal best. You know your horse. So when you warm them up and head over to the alleyway and you're in your drag waiting your turn, you already know what you need to get done. And so when you head down that alleyway, you're confident and you're going for it. But let's say you're on a novice horse and it's your first year. You really don't know. Your goal might be just have 1 right and 2 lefts and get out of there in one piece and clean. So you're not going to be, that's a little bit more being in the trainer's cap because you're not going in there going for it. You know, like a competitor on her open horse. You might be thinking a little more. You might be like, okay, I'm going to ease them in. And if they hunt that first barrel, maybe I'll push them more to second. Oh, they're really running hard to third. I better sit down and say, whoa. You know, when should I sit and say, whoa? Should I bump them or just sit and say, whoa? So that's being more in the trainer mode versus if you're on your old faithful open horse, you kind of know what they're thinking. You've been around the block enough together that you know how they act in an outdoor arena, how they act in an indoor arena. If you can push them harder in deep ground or hard ground versus, you know, all of those things. So that's really what I think of it. I think of when you're in your competition mode, you're in it to win it. So you're going for it. You're kind of on autopilot. You're thinking smooth, but fast. When you're in your trainer mode, you're being a little bit more conservative. You might be thinking a little bit more what cue or what position is best. It's maybe not as much on autopilot or muscle memory as, trying to think a strategy of where do they need me and when should I help them. So I hope that makes sense. And it is obviously going to be harder to get in the competitor mode on a futurity horse or a, you know, and it's also harder to get, or novice horse. It's also harder to get into the mode of, what am I trying to say? It's harder to get into the competitor's mode versus the trainer's mode if you train horses for a living or you ride horses slow all week long and you go to one barrel race on the weekend. You have one shot to get everything right and fast. So like I mentioned before, you don't want to one waste runs on your horse. Maybe you lope the barrels once here or there, but you still can't really mimic, you know, when a trainer says, oh, look how good I have this horse working at home, that doesn't mean anything to me. Get it to a barrel race and show me you can still work the same. Because barrel racing, the environment's different. The energy's different. You have 100 trailers. You have the PA system. You have banners. You have the energy of all the horses and, you know, everything going on. So those horses know it's different than being laid back at home in the backyard. So I often tell people, you know, try a horse at an event versus at a backyard because they can be a totally different horse going from laid back to very on the muscle, that kind of thing when you're getting to know a horse, or meet the seller at an event so you can see how they warm them up and how they go in the alleyway, because you'll often see that's a completely different horse than how they might lope a set of barrels at a practice arena with nobody else there. They know the difference. They're smart. They know. Okay. So the next question is, why would a horse blow off third barrel? So that could be a multiple things. I mean, I would have to look at the video to know. If it's a really good open horse that never blows off the barrel, you know, I might think pain, maybe something's, you know, sore and they're stepping off because it hurts with speed, but doesn't show up when they're going slow. It could be rider's cues. Maybe you're not giving them enough room going in. Maybe on the backside, you're not even looking for the alleyway. You're still turning your body towards the fence instead of towards the alleyway. So you're not turning and looking on the backside for your where you want your horse to snap out and pivot out. It could be, like I said, you crowd them going in. So it could be rider cue, it could be position, it could be pain. So those would be the main 3 things. To fix it, I would definitely slow down and go back to basics. If you think it's pain, definitely rule that out with a chiropractor or a veterinarian. But I would do maybe single barrel on the pattern where you go in easy to your spots 1, 2 and snap out, and then do a big circle and then go back in easy, spot 1, spot 2, snap out, big circle. And you can do it at a walk, post trot to a sit jog, and a high lope to a slow lope. And then when you feel them snapping out, then you'll know that you fixed that third barrel. You could also do some figure eights, things like that. That can help as well. But I certainly would be looking at things like where I'm looking. Do I have weight on my inside hip and stirrup? Am I, looking around, shoulder, inside hip and shoulder back? Am I bumping inside hand with my outside leg? Am I talking to him? Whoa, here, that kind of thing. That can help as well. So those are a lot of things that can help. So what are some extra tips they're asking to help a person stay calm while they're warming up before a run? One of my favorite things to do is I'll sing if I find myself getting a little bit nervous. Amarillo by Morning is my song that I sing, and I always sing that song whether I be riding out in the cow pasture or when I'm warming up, so my horses know that I'm being relaxed. Singing makes you breathe, and singing also calms you down. So singing is sometimes good. Sometimes doing those long exhales, sometimes wiggling your toes, but feeling yourself exhale all the way to your toes, and maybe just concentrating on wiggling your toes, or, those big exhales can help you. A lot of that stuff. There's actually calming remedies out there. You can take magnesium. There are some human calming remedies as well, but I've even sprayed my Dynamite Relax or Tranquil for my horses. It's like Star of Bethlehem. It's flower essence. I've sprayed that in rider's mouth, a squirt or two, to settle them down. Sometimes that helps as well. So there are things you can do, but talking to your horse, realizing that your horse is going to feed off your energy. So they need you to be calm and confident and having fun. So you need to pet them and say, look, let's do this. Let's have fun. They need to think barrel racing is as fun as trail riding, or, how you ride at home. If they think it's not, then they're going to dread it too, because it's so stressful. If you're always stressful and you're always nervous about going in to do it, they're going to not enjoy it either. So a lot of times, if you just change your mindset that I need to make this enjoyable for my horse too, that can help you set your tone and calm your nerves as well. So keep that in mind. What's a good way to get my horse to drive out of their turns more? That's the next question. One of my favorite things to do is just smooch. I've seen people who like smooch or kind of yell at their horses like, hey, or get, or whatever. But smooching, you'd be surprised how just smooching at spot 2 and spot 3 can really make a horse drive out. So once your horse is committed to the rate and committed to starting the turn in the hole, spot 1 to 2, as soon as you get from spot 2 to 3 and you're looking up for your next barrel, that's the time to start smooching and maybe some outside leg. You'd be surprised how much they'll feed off that energy alone. So I really feel like smooching is important. You can even do it at home to make sure that that's something that's going to be something that means something to them. Smooching should always mean to them speed up, move those feet. If you have a really lazy horse and they're anticipating rating down too much going into the barrel, you can even smooch, where most people might say, whoa, or here, you might be like, get up in the hole, And so smooching can really be valuable. You'd be surprised how much your energy and your voice can make your horse grab another gear or keep moving. So that would be my suggestion. All right, so the top 10, my top 10 things I think youth and parents should do for competition. Now, some of these are going to be more parents, some of these are going to be more youth, but I talked about 5 of them last week, but I really added to it, so I wanted to go over the top 10. The number 1 is being a positive cheerleader for your child. So that's for the parent, but it can also be for the competitor, for the youth rider too. They need to be positive. What they say, what they think, and what they imagine before their run. So like imagine your horse going in the alleyway calm, going to each barrel and turning it smoothly and running it out nicely. Just see a really nice run in your mindset, going to your spots and listening well to your cues, all of those things, and see it from the beginning to the end. See it from riding one-handed with your hand down on their mane to the alleyway, to going 2 hands and them getting ready and excited, to giving them their go cue and going arc, spot 1, spot 2, spot 1, spot 2, spot 1, spot 2, and run back to the alleyway, and then fist bump or pet your horse. See the entire run. So parents, be positive for them as well. They're already going to be hard on themselves and nervous and excited. That's something that you can do for them. The second thing is giving yourself space and time after a run. So no matter what, reach down and pet your horse, because 9 times out of 10, it could have been rider cue or position. So you don't want to get mad at your horse. One of my least favorite things I ever want to see, and you'll see this at Youth World a lot, because the camera goes down the video, is the kids will snatch their horse at the end because they hit a barrel or messed up a pattern or something. And it probably wasn't even the horse's fault. 9 times out of 10, it's the rider, whether cue, the timing, it could be the position, things like that. Or you're just not having a good day together, whatever. But reach down and pet them. Give yourself time to calm down as the competitor. Parents, leave the kids alone for a little while. Let them come off their adrenaline. Tend to the horse, go back and, gate them if you need to, or get off and loosen their cinch, cool them down mentally, physically. And then, take care of them as far as cold hosing them and getting them water, etc. And then after you've given yourself some time to settle down, that would be the time to maybe look at your video or look at your photos, things like that. And then the third thing, once everybody is calmed down, whether it's the drive home or when you're eating lunch or dinner together or something, ask how you felt. Ask them, parent, how they felt about their run, and let them answer. Don't just tell them your thoughts right off the bat. And then, ask them how they felt about their run is number 3. And then number 4 is to focus on growth. And this can be both for the adult and the youth or teen rider. Focusing on growth is not being overly focused on too high or too low, meaning, just because you won this time doesn't mean you're not going to have a off run another time. So you just don't want to get too high or too low. You want to be like, okay, that run went well. I'm going to journal why I think it went well. Or, okay, this run, I messed up my first barrel, but my second barrel and third was awesome. And then write down why that happened. So it's just kind of staying right in the middle and think of it as enjoying the journey and the process, and just setting yourself up for growth. So the 5th one, it might be for the parent and for the rider. Pick one thing that you did good and one thing you want to improve on for your next run. It might need you to go back and look at your video from last time you were there. You might need to look at your journal from the last notes you made on that particular arena for that run there. If the kids aren't good at picking it out, the parent can help them. Well, what if you rode straighter longer to second? What if you put more weight in your outside stirrup or looked at the outside tracks? Or what if you sat up longer or stayed 2 hands longer? What if you sat and said, whoa, sooner? Talk to them like that and see what they feedback. The next one is number 6, which is the kids' responsibility, the youth and teens' responsibility, but it also can be the parent's job to supervise it. So oversee how they're caring for their horse. Are they getting them their hay and their water, grooming them properly, warming them up properly? Are they not socializing with their buddies or on their phone too much, but rather focusing on their horse and what they need to do for their run? I had a student once, she would do great at lessons, and then she'd go to a barrel race and hit a barrel, and every time she'd come out and go, I wasn't focused. And then her mom would tell me, every time she comes out of the arena, she does that. And I'm like, well, you tell her, pay her own entry fees and see how quick she focuses. So that is something that you have to be responsible for. And if they're not being responsible for getting focused, maybe getting off by themselves one drag away, not sitting and visiting with their friends, and being focused. It's one thing if they don't know what to do. It's another thing if they're just not taking it serious and you're paying their entry fees and the gas money and your weekend off and all of that. So it is important. That is their job. The 7th thing is, so also on that 6th thing, the focus, you can help them with, looking at their videos afterwards, or taking them for lessons, or coaching at home, or, just making sure they're riding their horse 3 or 4 days a week as well. All of those things. So definitely supervise them. Don't just assume, but also don't do everything for them. Maybe you have responsibilities. I'll warm my horse up. The kid warms up the horse and the parent goes and enters them, or whatever, because the parents have to sign the releases and stuff too. or maybe you have the kid come with you and they do all the paperwork and you just pay and sign the release, and whatever works best for your family. But, definitely teach them, because eventually they'll be 18 and they'll be doing it on their own. So it's good they know how to do all of those things, and know how to enter and all of that, because every association is different. Some, you get draw numbers, some you have to draw numbers. Everybody's different. All of those things are important. So teach them that as well. And then the seventh thing is helping them, the parents, and also for the teens to do, or youth writers, to keep a journal and write your stuff down, what's going well, what's not, going well, things you want to improve on. Use your journal. That's really, really important, and refer to it. There's some people in my group, they're so good at that. And they have a game plan. Every time they go back to an arena, they go, okay, last time this happened, so this time I'm going to focus on this. And it really makes them grow in the right direction and have more winning runs than not. And it helps their consistency. The eighth thing is accountability. And that I already kind of mentioned, making sure they're riding at least 3 or 4 days during the week to be fit enough and prepared enough to compete on the weekend. The accountability can also flow into, taking care of their horse during the week, or, doing everything correctly for them. Hay, water, warm up, cool down, all of that at the competition. Taking care of the stalls if they're overnighting and things like that. The ninth thing is the focus, which I've already spoke on that. Like if kids are not focusing, hitting barrels, or, socializing and not paying attention when their name's called, those things that matter. And then, of course, number 10 is the memories. Remember, for both the parents and the kids, that you're going to look back on this in 10, 20, 30 years, and it's not going to be necessarily the buckles or the saddles or the money that you won that's going to stand out. It's going to be those memories, the memories with your family, the memories with your friends, the relationships you've built. I've been talking nonstop since my clinic Saturday, and then videos Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, and now the Q&A. So anyways, the memories you built, the connection, the relationship with your horse, those are the things you will look back on. Sure, it's exciting to hear the new time to beat or the winner is with your name. Sure, it's exciting to win that year-end buckle or saddle, or win some big money on the weekend or whatever. All that's great. But when you look back in hindsight, it's going to be those relationships that you built with your family and your horse, the memories. So keep it fun and keep it in perspective. I make it a joyful memory, not one of fighting or dread or conflict, and if it is that way, then maybe you need to reevaluate things and see how can you make this a better experience for the parents and the kids. And I know that we all go through the teen stage where sometimes it doesn't go as smooth as we like. Some teens are blessings for their parents and they'll go through that, but others can be challenging. And so maybe you have to set some boundaries there as well on whose responsibilities are what. And that can even flow into not just the physical things, but also the emotional things as well. How you speak to each other and all of that, communication and such. So I hope that helps. And I really, I also think it's important for the youth riders, and that kind of ties into, when you're at the events and preparing, not to compare yourself to others, to ride the race that's been successful for you, ride the run that works for you and your horse. If you are not sure about things, then next week when you meet with your coach or your lessons, kind of evaluate what you need to work on and set up a game plan for the next one. So I think that would help as well. But those are my main things that I wanted to share with you guys. And I'm going to keep this podcast a tick shorter. I think we're just about 30 minutes. So, but I just come off a crazy week and all that. The one thing I do want to share is that I am going to be doing some more interviews. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the last interview I did. The interviews, I've got 3 more set up before the end of the year. One I'm going to actually be doing tomorrow, and that's with I'm trying to support small businesses and members in the group and people that I know in the industry. But I'm also wanting to be educational for the members or viewers of my stuff. as well. So the next one we're going to do is with Christine out of Georgia, and she does the LifeWave patches. So that's going to be tomorrow's interview. And then I've got, and those LifeWave patches are helpful with a lot of things like pain or calming, and she'll explain the science behind it and how they work and stuff tomorrow. If you've ever tried them, you might have had good experience with it. And I know I've used them. I don't really understand how they work, but I know they have worked, and I've used them in different places like a swollen knee. I've used them in the calming points on my horses before barrel runs. I've used them on hips and stifles and hock points, lung points, things like that before runs on a weekend. And like I said, maybe she'll explain how they work, but I just knew they did work. I'm more of a proof in the pudding kind of girl, and that's how they worked for me. So that'll be a fun interview tomorrow. And then we've got, Ashley Odom, who's a member of the group as well. And she is an equine massage therapist. She's worked on my horses before. She's actually doing Rocky this weekend, after their lessons with her and her mom. And she does a great job. You can really see in her before and after pictures how tight and rock hard some muscles are and how soft and relaxed they get. And it just makes the horse look better, and they probably feel a whole lot better. No different than us after we get a massage. Everything's nice and loose and relaxed, and gets rid of probably that lactic acid and stuff. So it'll be fun to have her share her education and what she sees the benefits of massage too. And then finally, I'll have Sherry Steele, who was my chiropractor bodywork person for about 15 years consistently. And she's been doing it for a long time, probably over 20 years at least, I know of. And she does chiropractic. She trained under Peggy Fleming out of Brooksville. She has some other certifications. I'm sure she'll tell us all about her education. She does the MagnaWave and all of that. But she'll give you maybe some homework ideas on things you can do for your horses, leg stretches and cookie stretches for their neck and stuff. And why it's important to get your horse worked on, and how often and such. So those are going to be some fun interviews. I hope you guys will enjoy them. And then I'm going to try to go into more people like bit makers or saddle fitters, or maybe different trainers, vets, farriers, things like that down the road. Just for, kind of expanding the podcast and getting some more valuable information to the viewers. And I'm always looking at growing TLC and making the group better for the membership. And I just thought this might be a fun way to add a little bit more help for the group. So I appreciate each and every one of you. And I'd like to also thank my sponsors, Majesty Wafers, Coat Defense. They provide product samples in my clinics, and they're wonderful products, as well as Creative Concepts does all my flyers and logos. And then, of course, Florida Equine Athlete, I write for her, so she does advertising for me. I write training articles, and she has a good magazine. You can buy it online or on Amazon. And then finally, Dynamite and doTERRA, you can get wholesale through me. So thank you guys for tuning in. And don't forget, if you haven't subscribed to my YouTube page, definitely do that, so you'll be notified every time a new interview or podcast or training video is posted. And if you're watching and you haven't joined my online coaching group yet, go to tlcbarrels.com and you can figure out how to join there. And reach out to me, and I'll get you all set up. So thank you guys for tuning in this week. As always, I think there's one last thing I wanted to say. Imagine like Ride with Heart. My logo is a heart, and my motto is Ride with Heart. Heart to me is like the most important thing, because it's love. And I feel like love is probably, if you do everything with love, you can have a stronger connection with your horse, God, yourself. If you're, do everything from a place of love, your friends, your family. And honestly, I feel like it will reach your goals better, because again, going back to the power of positivity. So I really feel like love is one of the most important things that you can put forth in each morning when you wake up and say your positive, positive affirmations or your prayers in the morning. But love, I think, is something that flows into everything you do, whether it's work or family or animals or goals, competition, and just makes everything better. And that's part of the reason Ride with Heart and my logo is what it is. So I just wanted to share that and leave that with you guys as a final note. And I think that's it. And so thank you guys for tuning in this week. And as always, God bless and ride with heart. Thank you.